think at some point, all the testing jobs are going to be automation. Every day, more and more companies are walking away from the manual testers. That is a wonderful question. And to be honest, it's a question that's asked quite often. There's like a debate going on between the people who are holding on to automation, or they're holding on to manual testing, manual testing, manual testing. And then there's the people who you can say like, oh, they're from the future, like automation, automation, automation. Um, can everything be automated? I'm going to say no. Everything cannot be automated. However, however, although everything can't be automated, every QA engineer can do automation. What do I mean by that? Coach, what do you mean by that? What I mean by that every QA engineer can do automation is nowadays you have to be dynamic. All right? You have to be dynamic. You can't just say I'm a manual tester and like it's the only thing. That's all that I'm gonna do. I'm not going to move forward. I'm not going to learn how to do automation in any particular language because there will always be a need for manual testing. I agree. There's always a need for manual testing, but how much of it is there a need for? Right? How much of there is there a need for manual testing? To be honest with you, I don't think it's as great as some people make it out to be, because if you can get okay, so by always being a need to manual test, in order to write an automated test, you have to go through the flow manually first. But the question is, how often are you going to be going through that manual flow? Because from my perspective and the work that I've been doing for the automation work I've been doing for the past 12 years, right? Before we started to do automation, we had like these critical sites that would go through these flows every day, where there's like a e-commerce flow, a like we had like Delta, JetBlue. We go through their problematic and most important flows, right? So we'd have to do those. We'd have to do those like we'd do those manually. But then we got into the realm of automation, and what happens is we start to reduce that need to go like we just didn't have to go through it manually every single day. So now it frees up resources to work on other stuff. And it also frees up resources of the company, because if I needed a human being to go through click, 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 right? And now I have a more accurate mechanism to do it. I built a robot where if like the only way the robot gets sick is by the robot like having like maintenance issues or computer issues, and then you can just swap out another robot or whatever, put a like where you run your tests or whatever. It's like you see what I mean, right? So the thing is, we don't get bogged down by we don't get bogged down by like the elements of human error and everything like that. So I would say there is a much less need for the amount of manual testers that there used to be. And I'll give you an example. So the company that I first started working as a QA analyst for, the amount of QA analysts, QA testers, that grew exponentially as the company was also getting bigger. That grew exponentially, right? But then as we started to as you know, the economy shifts and everything like that, and we start having a lesser of a need for because we started having introducing automation. Now we can get a few people to start reviewing the automation results instead of having an unmaintainable amount of QA testers in regards to the websites that are being tested. And nowadays, even with that, in companies, the the ratio of developers to testers or to QA engineers are low, because with the work that the QA is doing, it's an expectation to find ways to automate. And it's not like you just can't sit on your hands and wait for them to say, "Oh, this is ready to be tested," and then I go through this little manual flow, and then I do this, and now, okay, it's done. And all right, let's hurry before Stone Cold gets here. Right, so now it's done, and now we're at the point of we're at the point of we have to say, okay, what are the ways that I can facilitate testing that I can ensure that the product is always in a functional state, but we don't need human capital to do it every single day, and that's through automation. So yes, there is manual testing involved, but we're leaning towards automation testing, and so the need for manual testers becomes lower because the QA engineer who has the ability to automate will also handle some manual testing aspects, but the expectation is that they will also develop automation. Okay. So and that's what I've seen from all the last 4 or 5 companies that I've worked for is that there you still need to do automated testing. I mean, you still need to do manual testing, but the goal is to move towards automation suites that can test the site on a daily basis with less need of human interaction. You have the human interaction when like tests fail and you need to investigate, you need to create bugs or defects. Those still are aspects of manual testing, but the goal is to increase your automation coverage so you can find bugs quicker. One of the quotes that I love from Robert Martin, Uncle Bob, is when they asked him like, we have this thick um, tests, but we're losing half of our QA workforce. Um, what half should we test? And his response was, well, the half that you want to work. You know, so that's why we need to get automation to cover as much as possible. Like it's not going to be 100, but get as close to it as to 100, and that might include like that's with your unit tests. You know, I would also call them functional unit tests. You know, encourage the developers, work with them to try to incorporate some test-driven development, and then now from a QA engineer perspective, um, find opportunities for automation, API tests, end-to-end UI tests. Although those should be like the least as possible, but look for those integration tests. Look for those API tests where you're testing the business layer, and then you do some tests on the GUI, and then at the very end, like things that are not that important, those can be manual tests. But you want to try to automate as much manual stuff as possible. Okay, so that's that. That is what I see happening to if there's going to if all testing jobs are going to be requiring automation. The answer is yes. Like all testing jobs will require automation, but there's still going to be some component of manual testing. It's inevitable that you're going to have to test something manually, but as QA engineers, have strong manual testing game, and you should be fine. All right. So, but also have strong automation game. Both of them are equally important, and QA automation engineers are taking over.
If you enjoyed the fascinating information shared in this video and you want more, be sure to hit the subscribe button to Tech Coach Ralph to be notified for new videos.